Madam President, on Tuesday night, Senator Reid and I had the honor of filing S4049, the 60th Annual National Defense Authorization Act. Now, we stop and think about that. It's 60 years. You know, and that's something we're always pretty confident will eventually get this thing passed. To me, it's the most significant bill of the year, and we've been doing it now successfully for 60 years. This is what we consider every year, and we know it's going to pass because it's always passed. But it's also, it's about taking care of our troops and defending our country. You know, there's a document no one reads anymore. It's called a Constitution. It talks about what our primary responsibility is, but that is to defend America. And we're in such a much more dangerous position today than we've ever been in before. So it's, and I think it's fitting that we're doing this ahead of the 4th of July, our nation's birthday. We wouldn't have our freedoms without our men and women in uniform, the past and present. And that's what we are dedicating this to, and that's what we are. They are the beneficiaries of what we're doing, as we are the beneficiaries of what they're doing. And that's why we can all come together and finish this bill by, you know, I'd still like to say, even though there's opposition to this, we could do this by next Thursday. And when I say that, it's because it would be the last day before the recess that is coming up, the 4th of July. And I think it would be good if we could do it that way. And there's a reason for that. But we also are realistic, and we're not sure that we're going to be able to do that. We're going to make every effort to do that. And one thing about working with my partner over here, Senator Reid, is that we have always operated in a very cooperative manner. And we've supported each other. He answers to his Democrat friends, and we bring them together because of the relationship that we have in this committee. So I think that what we're talking about is there's always a possibility we can get this done. Now, we would like to, both Senator Reid and I would like to use an open amendment process. And this is a process that will allow all of our members to come in and do what they have to do what they want to do, things they want to have in the bill. And we were not able to do that in the last couple of years because we had objection. One thing about the Senate is everything is operates on the basis of unanimous consent. And so we have someone who objects, and we are unable to do it. Hopefully that will not happen again this year, and we'd be able to use the open amendment process. But having said that, it's not going to be nearly as significant this year because what we did in this year's bill is we actually had made an appeal way back in February to our Democrats and Republicans, not just those on the committee, in the Armed Services Committee, but those in the entire Senate. And we said, start getting your amendments ready. This last February. You know, don't wait to the last minute. Get them up there so we can talk about them. We can vote, prepare them for ultimate votes, and so people actually started, and they were warned at that time that we didn't want to wait to the last minute to do this. So we did something that is really kind of the first time we've been able to successfully do it, and that is of all the items that are in this bill that I consider to be the most significant bill of the year, 40% of that came from our members of the Senate, and 40% of that came from the administration and the Pentagon. So, you know, all of those things have already been treated once. And I can remember, I've been around here long enough to remember when that 40% wasn't 40%, it was about 6%. And so we didn't get the input of the members like we do today. We just operated differently at that time. This is the third year that I've been involved in this, and we've been able to get a higher percentage of input from the members. So I think that is a that's something that is working well, and it's given the members already time to have participated. I'll put this in a different way. The bill includes nearly 600 requests and amendments from members of the Armed Services Committee, and almost 200 requests that came from senators who are not on the committee. So they're the ones who have put this bill together. Now, with your input already in there, I'm confident that we have a solid bill that reflects the needs that we have, and it won't be as necessary to have more amendments, since that's what we've already done. Now, if we want to finish this bill by the end of next week, we need to reach a unanimous consent agreement before this Friday. I understand there may be objection to this. That could happen, or that there could be a change of mind. That's still my hope that would take place. Now, there's a reason for that, too, because the House is going to be working on their bill right after we come back from the recess, and we're just running out of time. So we need to get this started, and we're doing that on a manager's package, the bipartisan set of amendments that we can all agree on. So if you'll get all of those in by this coming Friday, I'd ask our members to do that. And then even with that, it's going to be necessary for the staff to work all the way through the weekend to put it in position. So we know that we want to get the first manager's package, so the amendments will be filed. And just keep in mind, we have that. Senator Reid and I have that as a deadline for getting those amendments in. Now, in recent years, we've been able to consider many amendments on the floor. As I said earlier, I hope that we'll be able to do that again. So that may or may not happen. If you have an amendment and you want to debate it on the floor, we also need to know that you do desire to have a debate so that we can work that in. And lastly, as you're working through your amendments, please be thoughtful that we shouldn't get bogged down with a lot of amendments that have nothing to do with national defense. This is the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. We should be talking about military. But one of the things that is characteristic about this is that for as many years as I've been here, since this is the one bill that is going to be a must-pass bill, and must-pass bill this year, then people who were unable to get their bills in or their amendments in on other bills wait until this comes along and try to do this with amendments. So I'm discouraging that from happening. I hope that doesn't happen. Now, what's most important here is that we take care of our men and women in uniform. That's what it's all about. They're all volunteers, and they're deserving of our support. And again, my message to you is to get your amendments filed as soon as possible. As I noted, this is the 60th annual NDAA. In the last 59 years, Congress has passed an NDAA always on a bipartisan basis. And that's a big deal. It's not a legacy we take lightly. I've been privileged to participate in this process as a member of the Big Four. I'll tell you how that works. We do our bill, and the House does its bill. We go to conference, but we're still not able to get together, so they take the Big Four, which constitutes the ranking Democrat and Republican in the House and the ranking Democrat and Republican in the Senate, and the four of us sit down and get it done. We've done that several times in the past, and that's the stopgap. That's the one last thing that we have to do if we are not able to do it any other way. Now, every year we're told there are things we can't accomplish. Every year we're told there's no way we can find common ground. All this happens, but we do it. Our grand bipartisan tradition continues, just as it will this year. The reason is simple: failure, and worse, failure on the backs of our service members is just not an option. I'll remind everyone why we're doing this. Our military was hurt pretty bad under the previous administration. I always admired President Obama because he had a different agenda, and consequently we had some problems. I would say this: in the last 5 years of his 8-year administration, that would be from 2010 to 2015, our defense spending was dropped by 25%. It's never happened before. And we've been working to rebuild it after that. We're not quite there yet, but we've made great headway. And it's easy to cut a military. to reduce readiness, slow down production and all that. But it's hard, not to mention slower and more costly, to rebuild it. And that's what we're in the middle of right now. And so that's what this is all about. This is a significant bill, something we work on all year long, and then it comes to the time you come to the floor. That's where we are now. And I have to say this, I can't think of anyone who would be, I would rather have as a partner than Senator Reid. Senator Reid and I have worked together for many years, and we have a way of getting along with each other and coming to conclusions and the right decisions. So it's been an honor for me over the years to be working as we are this year with Senator Reid, and we're going to get a good bill done. And with that, I yield the floor.